I want to try to show you via this rope what I think the verse, one metaphor for the verse, it'll be this rope. I want to show you kind of a review idea, like how this verse speaks of discipleship, and I want to use the rope also to kind of give you a preview of where we're headed today. I'll need your help with this, okay? I think this verse is obviously a discipling verse, but it's, as I said before in week 1, it's given to the elders and pastors of this church, specifically Timothy, to raise up other elders and pastors. And so the question might be, well, does that apply to all of us? But it does, and let me show you how. Let's take this rope, for instance. Let's say this rope is the thread of discipleship in your life. This is when God lassos you. He's when He saves you, it starts it. The end of the rope is that time when God is finished with you. He's sanctified you, and He's going to take you home. It's the end of your life, and you won't need discipled after that because you'll be with the Lord, right? So this is the thread of discipleship throughout your life. Along the course of your life, as you experience discipleship, there are people of impact. Everybody see that okay? And so this verse describes one of those kinds of people who could impact you, a pastor/elder. So is there an elder or a pastor in our room here? I know there is, by the way. Edgar, come on up. Everyone's like, oh, shucks, I don't go up there, but I need you to be very helpful here. I mean, just kind of help me. Edgar, just grab a knot, would you? Put the knot kind of in front of you. And so, anyone you want. Yeah, great. So as this verse says, this is Edgar as a pastor, elder here at First Family Church. He's a person of impact, and so along the thread of discipleship in your life, God may use him at some point to help you learn to obey Jesus. Does that make sense? It's not the only way, but it's one of the ways. There's also other people, such as someone who teaches you in Sunday school. So is there an elementary Sunday school teacher in the building? I'm sure there is. Anyone want to just make their way to the front and help me with this illustration? Okay, great. Adam, super. Just grab a knot, would you? How about a youth leader? Is there someone who works with our teenagers? Are they in the building? I suspect they are. David, come on up. I saw your son poke you right there in the rib. That's good. There's also, let's say there are women's Bible study leaders. Is there one of our women's ministry, either Bible study leaders or a women's ministry leader that's in the room here? We want to come up. Maybe you're teaching one coming up. Okay, either one of you. Okay, Chris, come on up. Great. Often then there are other people in our life, such as parents. I think that's the primary discipler in a child's life or in a person's life till they leave home. So is there a parent in the house? I'm sure there is. Lindsay, come on up. That's great. You're walking this way. You'll make a great example for this. Super. I just thought you were coming to help. That's awesome. You're going to this knot right here. You're the parent discipler. That's great. Maybe so you're loving this, aren't you? Like, that's a way to get her. There's also other folks, like sometimes God uses folks who meet in our community, like maybe we move into town and there's a neighbor who's just a super solid follower of Christ, and we get to know them and they help us. Is there someone who just represent a neighbor? Like, I'm a neighbor to folks around me, and who would represent a neighbor? Can I just have someone come up and represent a neighbor? I'm waiting. Great, Megan, thank you very much. Sometimes God uses folks in our schools even. There are godly teachers both in our public schools and our Christian schools. Sometimes they're coaches, but is there a teacher or a coach in the room that I could just say, I'll represent one of those? Okay, right there. Carlene, come up and grab. Is there any knots left? How about a grandparent? Is there a grandparent in the room that would come up and say, I'll represent someone who's a person of impact? Julie and I are the only grandparents here I know, but okay, come on up. That'd be great. It's a person of impact. And there's one knot over here. That's great. So the rope's in front of you. Just understand that as you are being discipled and as you are discipling, as God is taking you from the moment He saves you all the way to the end of your life as a child of His, there are people of impact who will intersect with your life and help you learn to obey Jesus. That's the definition of discipleship, learning to obey Jesus and then helping someone else do the very same thing. And so all we're seeing in this verse, 2 Timothy 2:1-2, is a specific knot on the rope. It's how pastors and elders obey the call to disciple. We gather other men and teach them how to be elders. Does that make sense? But there are other people along the whole thread of discipleship who do the very same thing in their way. The point is that we all have a role to play in helping other people know and follow Jesus, learn to obey Him. Does that make sense, guys? we've used the idea of a vertebrae before, and that this verse is one of the, a spine, and this is one of the vertebrae on that. I'm just using the rope this morning to show you that discipleship is the biblical New Testament thread. Come follow me. I'll make you fishers of men. Go and make disciples of all nations. And along this thread, there are different people of impact that intersect with us. And so I don't know where God has placed you. Maybe you're a teacher, a coach, a neighbor, a parent, a grandparent, a pastor, a teacher, a youth leader, a children's worker. Wherever you're placed, use it to disciple other people, okay?